My dear friends, seated here, fortunate. Why we are fortunate? Only we are allowed to speak from 5:30. And my dear unfortunate friends seated here, from 5:30 you have been asked only to listen, which is a very torturous mission. And you have been doing that very wonderfully. Congratulations. So, good evening to all of you, all here and here. I do not know why I am chosen by the organizers to present a keynote address. A non-theologian is invited to present a keynote address to theologians. I deem it a great privilege to stand before you, and so many scholars and great theologians, eminent speakers, archbishops, bishops, and others. And I am very grateful to Father Lawrence. When he was introducing about each one of us, describing very beautifully, I thought he was recommending all our names to Vatican for canonization. So many things which he said, I myself do not know about myself. Yeah, very good. I am very grateful to you for this. When I was invited a few years ago by CBCA, Conference of Religious, that was held at Jamshedpur on the theme Women Empowerment, I was the one invited to present a paper, Scriptural and Theological Foundation for Women Empowerment. After I spoke in the conference, I came out, our Cardinal Bombay, he asked me, Inigo, where did you do your theology? I said, I have never done theology anywhere. Hence, I presume whatever I speak makes sense to everybody. So therefore, I am speaking, you can easily understand, because it's not something from theological, it's from my heart. You know, I'm speaking, and when I asked Father Lawrence also a couple of days ago, Father, how much time I can take to present my paper? He said, you can take as much time as you want, but we will all go away after 30 minutes. So, before you all go away, just to share with you some of my concerns. And because the topic is in the light of Pope Francis' vision, he comes to my rescue. Whatever I want to say, Holy Father says very beautifully. So I'm very happy. So I'm speaking to you in the backdrop of two great events happened recently. One is the global crisis warranted by COVID-19. It has brought unprecedented challenges in the world, the whole world. It has affected every sector of life. It has affected even our faith in God, existence of God. People started questioning. It has affected our worship, our prayers, our spirituality. So in this backdrop, we have to see whether our formation is relevant in the pre or post-COVID-19. The second great event, Pope Francis' bold initiative, Synod on Synodality. We have started speaking new language now, which we never spoke before Synod. Now our language is include everybody, respect everybody, listen to everybody with the ear of the heart, listening, consultation, dialogue, discernment, decision making. These are the buzzwords today. So I really wonder, in the context of these two events, whether formators have looked into their program, the content of the program, the subjects they are teaching, the methodology, the relevance of what they are teaching, and the candidates who are joining our priestly or religious life. How relevant, because we are experts in repeating what was there before. The language of Jesus is, my language is very simple. My ideas are very simple. My communication style is very simple. You know why? Because I'm proclaiming the simple message of a simple man. The simple man is Jesus. The simple message is love. But we are experts in complicating this simple message by our clever theories, by complicated messages, and by so many interventions. Simple message, love. Only to teach that love, we spend so many years in formation. Finally, after all the 10 years of formation, we don't even know to smile. That is how our formation is doing. Yeah, you are clapping hands, very good. Anyway, so we are called to take a moment to ponder over sincerely what the Lord is asking of us in this seemingly difficult and challenging situation. Are we serious about it? Do we know what is happening outside? How this COVID-19 has affected people. People have lost a job. People have lost homes. They are going into depression. Many have got suicidal tendencies. And many educated youth, they are jobless today. They need counseling. Children are uncontrollable. Parents they don't know what. In this situation, as our formation helps us to deal with all these problems, or we are living in our own world, multiplying number of years. In any case, apart from school and college education, the brother or the sister, nearly we spend 7 to 10 years. After so many years of formation, do we know what is happening outside of us? Does it disturb us? Do we feel the pain of? Do we feel the pain? If all these years of formation doesn't disturb us and help us to respond to today's situation, we are not living in pre-COVID time. We are not living in pre-synodal times. Then that time formation could have been different. We cannot repeat yesterday's answer to today's problems. We become irrelevant. My dear friends, we cannot put the toothpaste back into the tube. So everything is new. As we read in book of Joshua, chapter 3, verse 4, it says, you have not passed through this way. Never we passed through this way. Everything is new. We have to look into that's why Holy Father in October 22, he speaks to the people in formation in Rome. Formation is a synodal journey in which the formees are called to listen to the Spirit in order to discern how to help God's people. Our formation to help others. He places before us 3 challenges that only I'm going to develop. Number 1, formation should help you to cultivate mystical dimension. That I'll speak about it. That's number 1 big challenge. Number 2, formation is calling us to be prophetic witnesses. Number 3, Pope Francis highlighted the third one, mission of serving the poor. That is, taking gospel Jesus to the periphery, to the suffering brothers and sisters. I am not sure the formators have re-looked once again or I don't know whether they have the freedom to change anything also. So we continue the same. Let happen whatever is happening outside. Our concern, ours is examination oriented. Syllabus based. We have to finish everything and pass the exam. You are ready for ordination. You are ready for first vows and final vows. But is the heart formed to deal with the people? So therefore I deal with the first challenge, to be a mystic. Mysticism, mystical dimension, nothing new for India. We know mysticism is not and head level knowledge. I tell about God to others. That's not mysticism. Mysticism is an experience. Mysticism is not sitting in the chapel hours together and praying non-stop endless prayers. Mysticism is to know the God. Who is the God? God proclaimed by Jesus of Nazareth. That God is different. And one who knows the heartbeat of Jesus. I wonder, with all this, suppose we preach like this, why priests and sisters are still drawn to the institutions to become principals, to become administrators, to become managers, and to have the power and position for which many lay people are already there. And they are much more capable than many of us. They are extremely knowledgeable, extremely generous. And when they are capable of doing with much more humanness, why should we compete with them? Who will do our pastoral ministry? Who will do our sacramental ministry? For which we women are not allowed. Neither you allow us nor you do it. Then how God's people will be formed by? Leave that ministry for people who are capable of doing. Let them do it. You are trained for a different purpose. Yesterday you got the results of 4 states in India. I don't know how you feel about it. I can't speak from here loudly. It's really painful. It's really, but what I admire in those people, their working strategy, their focused hard work, their purpose. They wanted to win. Is there a purpose that I want to finally at the end of my formation? So, in our formation, if the formation has succeeded only in producing or churning out eminent scholars, writers, professors, and speakers, then our formation has miserably failed. Thomas Aquinas, he wrote his theology on his knees. Ignatius Loyola, he wrote his spiritual exercises in Manresa cave. Francis Assisi founded his mendicant order, months together spending in the cave in contemplation. Where and when and how we have lost this mystical dimension, and thereby we have lost Jesus of Nazareth also. We know mystics. I remember mystics. India got a lot of mystics, even in other religions. And one mystic I remember, Kabir. How beautifully he speaks. Tu chandan mem pani, tu deepak mem batti. And we're so connected. Wherever I see only you. Therefore, even my enemy appears like you only. That means, today we talk about Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Today we talk about synodality, including everybody. Years ago, our mystics spoke about including everybody. I see everywhere. Our God is not a distant God. Our God is not a vague, some figure or statue. He's a living God. He's a compassionate God. He's a merciful God, abundant in mercy and steadfast love. If I have that image of God, I have no other way except presenting that God through my life with my compassion, with my love, with my merciful presence. If I don't do that, which God am I proclaiming? Who is our God today? Let's decide. Who is our God today? He is Antaratma, Antarayamin. He cannot be separated from me like waves cannot be separated from the ocean. He is here. Swami Vivekananda beautifully said, I first rule I put my novices, my formies, Swami Vivekananda. Only character I expect from my formis is gentleness. Because we are not going to live in monasteries inside. We are mendicants. We are going to work with the lay people, with others. When they see us, when we are not gentle, they will hate us. Not only they will hate us, they will hate the organization we belong to. Not only that, they will hate our God also. Oh, is this the God you are? So therefore, our God, who is the God Jesus came to proclaim? Who is the God? Who is the God our founders and foundresses, they proclaimed? Who is the God Pope Francis is proclaiming today? If he is the God, then Pope Francis rated, you are not NGOs. Says very clearly, you are not NGOs. Your call is different, without mystical dimension. If you think you can live and do everything, you will be a failure. And I quote here, when disciples asked Jesus, they never asked, teach us that how to do the miracle. Teach us how to give a clever talks. Teach us how to be popular. They only asked Jesus, teach us to pray. If people, when they look at us, Father, sister, teach me to pray. I want to know how to pray. Looking at you, I feel like asking, can I pray like you? How do you encounter Jesus in your life? Please teach me. This is our formation. In Genesis chapter 3:10, Jacob tells Esau, looking at you is for me seeing the face of God. Can others look at us and say, seeing your face is seeing the face of God? Acts 6:15, looking at St. Stephen, people said, your face is shining like the face of an angel. Can my face? How many times people say, why fathers and sisters are rude? Why they are very hard? Why they are ruthless sometimes? Why they don't understand? No. Can our face shine like the face of an angel? Acts of the Apostles 4:13. I was reading surprised. And the Jewish people saw Peter and James. They were uneducated people, not like us, highly educated. They were illiterate. They were ordinary people, but they recognized them as companions of Jesus. Can others recognize us? We are the companions of Jesus. We don't need to go and tell everybody. The way we talk, very polite way. All this formation is given to make us noble people. Am I a noble person? The way I talk, I relate, I do the ministry. Can people say, I am a majestic person? If they don't feel that way, our formation, I don't know. The second challenge. Does our mystical dimension steer us to be prophetic witnesses? A prophet is not one who censors everybody, who criticizes everybody, who condemns everybody. He is not the prophet. A prophet is one who listens to God in silence and listens to God in the suffering. In silence, invisible God. In the suffering, visible God. Then comes out and says, thus says the Lord. How can he say, thus says the Lord, unless you are intimacy? A mystic only can be a prophet. A mystic only can be a missionary. Our mountain experience should lead us to multitude experience. Our prayer experience should lead us to people experience. Our God experience should lead us to community experience. Our chapel experience should lead us to street experience. Our withdrawal should take us back to involvement experience. One without the other doesn't make us religious or priest. Only a mystic can be a missionary, visionary, and a prophet. All the others, we do wonderfully our profession ministries, we become NGOs. Our call being a mystic and a prophet. I have heard the cry of my people. The first message, the biblical God we hear about, a God who hears the cry. So we are expected to hear the cry of the people today. Moses got occasion because God heard the cry of somebody and he gave occasion to Moses. You and I are called because God heard the cry of somebody. Our occasion is the cry of somebody. Who cried, Lord, you thought of me? Who is crying, Lord, today? You still want me. My vocation is not the result of my prayer, my family prayer, my talent, my intelligence. No. Somebody's cry, God thought she or he will wipe the tears of these people. Not bringing tears to people. Wipe the tears of the people. And our God cannot tolerate slavery. The first act of God in the Bible, liberate my people from slavery. Wherever there is slavery in our institution, there is no God. Because God cannot accept. How do we treat our employees? How do we enslave them? How do we pay just wages to them? How do we justify? Because they are voiceless people. If they speak, even the job they will lose. Why they come to sisters and fathers? They will understand us. They are the people who experience God. So how do we treat them? The slavery is not only in the institution, political, but also enslaving people today due to sexual abuse. That's also slavery. Financial abuse and power abuse. My dear friends, you are standing on the holy ground. God said to Moses, the formation houses, seminary and religious formation houses, holy grounds for thousands of priests and religious. On this holy ground when we stand, God says, remove the sandals. Remove your pride. Remove your ego. Remove your high-handedness. Don't forget the roots from where you all came. Let's not forget. Amazing grace. You and I are sitting here today. Amazing grace. Let's not forget the roots. And let's listen to, don't enslave anybody. There is no God. And remove the sandals. Therefore, seminary of our formation house is not merely engaged in intellectual pursuits and scholarly attainments. Rather, it strives to assist the formees to gain mystical experience as well as to make a prophet of our times. But synodality is not understood today. One can surmise that this is the truth. The institutional church does not wish to hear the word synodality. Journeying as equals, listening to each other, a hard concept in the hierarchical church. When Pope says the authority comes not from ordination but from baptism, though it was said already in Lumen Gentium, Second Vatican II, but Pope is repeating again, it challenges seminary religious formation culture. Our seminaries have not even begun to think that way. The seminary formation should not allow for a sense of entitlement and the inherent superiority of the priest or religious. The theology of ordination has to be rewritten. This is why clericalism is such a distasteful thing for the Pope. And he speaks so strongly condemning it. He refers to the stench of clericalism. Very strong words. What are our seminaries doing about this? Look at the reality of women and women religious and the bullying that goes on. Bullying is actually abuse of women. God denounces such behavior, as it is against what God intends for men and women. On 29th October 2023, Pope said these words: "It is painful to find in some parish offices the price list of sacramental services, putting the list how much to pay for this mass, for high mass how much to pay, for wedding mass list goes up. How much you have to pay? In the manner of supermarket." Holy Father's words. Then the priests become mere employees of a multinational corporation. This is the great defeat to which clericalism leads us. But remember, my friends, clericalism is not only the sin of clergy. Wherever you feel, I am above everybody, nobody can question me, I am special, everybody should serve me, I am unique. Wherever people live with this mentality and make people your slaves, you are also part of clericalism. Don't think somebody else. How many of us also part of clericalism? Because nobody can question me. If you question me, you know what will happen to you. That is clericalism. So, third challenge, mission of serving the poor. Repeatedly, again and again, over and over in the Bible, what we find, God hears the cry of the poor. He cannot sit back and listening the cry of he comes down. Our God is an active God. He's not a passive God. What can I do? I hear the cry. He comes down. In Deuteronomy 15:9 we hear, when people cry to you, if you don't listen the cry, God says, they will come to me and cry. And I will hear the cry. You will feel guilty. If you don't hear the cry, people can only go to God and cry. You will feel guilty. How many times Pope Francis says repeatedly, go to the poor, go to the periphery, listen to the cry. Whom are we serving by this God-given occasion? Who are the beneficiaries of our God-given occasion? Who will say finally when we die and go to the Lord, they will recommend this priest, this brother, this sister, she did something to me, please allow her to go into heaven. How many will say, don't allow this person? They destroyed my life. They destroyed my life. We are not even sensitive to the people's cry. They cry, let them cry. So the church in general and especially in India is seen as not very sensitive in responding to the challenges. What we observe today in the church is a culture which lacks the horizontal dimension of spirituality and a culture which exhibits elements of conformity. Let's go back to Jesus of Nazareth. We need people like Father Stan Swami. As he says, I don't want to follow Jesus of Christians. I want to follow Jesus of Nazareth. How can I keep quiet when I see injustice happening in front of me? How can you? What formation, what books, what class you need to melt your hearts if you don't see the injustice happening in front of you? Yes, Pope Francis challenges our mediocre life. He hates any member who sits in office and pushes papers or waiting for the doorbell to ring. So the life of Jesus, with whom did he walk? sinners, Samaritans, tax collectors, lepers, not hi-fi people. He never walked with distinguished or accomplished people. It's apparent that we have lost this Jesus of Nazareth and we are following a convenient Jesus who will make our life more comfortable without disturbing our conscience. Let's go back once again to Jesus of Nazareth. As Pope says, I prefer a church which is bruised, hurting, dirty, because it is going to the streets. You have to go to the streets. So let's look at our parishes. Is that okay? Just introducing novenas, lot of pious exercises that we are doing. Is that all? The church which is afraid of taking a prophetic stand in favor of the poor is a dead church. Let's not behave like custom offices. We should be field hospitals. Every convent, every religious house, every formation center, parish house, a field hospital where wounded are healed, where weak are strengthened, where sick are healed. This is our ministry. Are we prepared to listen with the passion to the cries of the prisoners? Prisoners multiplying. 5 years ago in my own prison where I am working, Tihar jail, 13,000. After pandemic, 22,000. Increasing number of prisoners. Somewhere we have failed. We are creating criminals. We cannot blame, because they have nothing to eat after COVID. After COVID, many are brought because they must have stolen 10 rupees. Or for hunger, they must have stolen 1 banana. And prisoners are overflowing today. What are we doing in our educational institutions if we don't prevent these crimes and all that? Anyhow, sisters, last judgment, question paper is out. Very easy. Already question paper is with us. Prepare yourself. When I was hungry, that's all the questions. But what all questions we are preparing, writing the exam and pass the exam. With all this, are you feeding the hungry? Are you giving people who are thirsty to drink? Do you visit hospitals? Do you visit prisons? Do you clothe the naked? Simple questions out. But we are very good for complicated questions and complicated answers. So, I'm concluding, where is gospel spirituality? Are we progressing or regressing? Are our Sunday services of any meaning? Which God are we preaching from our pulpits? Are our annual church gatherings attended by thousands a mere show? Shouldn't they be reviewed today? Is worship divorced from life? The questions are many, answers are few. Many of the duties of the priest, to including property administration, could be transitioned to the laity, thereby relieving the priest to concentrate on their spiritual responsibilities. To be a head of a social service center, to be an accountant, we don't need ordination. Others can do, and more beautifully they will do it. The difference between priest, religious and laity must be reduced. The hierarchical medieval structure of the church must be done away with. The liturgical celebrations must be made simple and linked to the daily realities of life. The emphasis must be on Christ's teachings, not on rites and rituals that we are fighting. As Pope Francis says, a priest or religious who has studied perhaps a lot of theology and has 1, 2 or 3 degrees but has not learned to love people and bring people to Jesus is ineffective. He or she will be a good scholar or professor, but not a priest or religious. What is needed is fundamentally contextual theology, writes Pope Francis, capable of reading, interpreting the gospel in conditions which our people live today, living in horrible situation. If our formation helps us to feel and do something for these people, that is the success. Therefore, finally, Pope Francis speaks to the formators who teach more by the example of their own lives than by their words. He cautiously reminds the formators they must continually renew their own configuration to Christ first. They cannot just be. Once a young formator went to an eye specialist. Normally, young people don't go to the eye specialist. But today, all are going because of media. When he went, the doctor tested the eyes. He said, "Your eyes are in a very bad shape. How come you have strained them so much?" The young Fami in the seminary said, "What to say, doctor? I was told to see God in my formators and superiors. Looking for God, finally I lost my eyesight. But I didn't find God in my formators." So, be careful, formators. You cannot make seminaries information providing centers. They are mere syllabus based and examination oriented. Formators shouldn't be mere lecturers or occasional counselors. They must share the life of the formees and be open to their suggestions. Today, young people, they are much more knowledgeable, open to their suggestions, even to their criticism, with the conviction that the real work of formation is between formator and the Spirit. Conclusion. Some years ago, a church consultation on formation in Kerala concluded, "We have produced enough intellectuals, enough writers, people with the doctorates, administrators, principals, and managers. Enough we have produced. Now we need to form mystics, prophets, real missionaries, and better refined human beings among them." This is the R for challenge, or for new responses to the new context, to the new issues. It's God's R, a Kairos moment. Let this conference be an opportune occasion to reinvent and revitalize the formation in India so that the church will have the leaders as good shepherds following the model of Jesus of Nazareth. Thank you very much for your patient listening. God bless.